We're very excited. We've got Dr. M. Jackson here with us.
I'm
chat.
excited too.
I'm going to tell you about yourself.
Oh, go on.
Okay.
Go on.
So you're a geographer. You're a glaciologist. No, I can't say it. You say it.
Glaciologist.
Glaciologist. It's going to take me a bit of time. Science communicator. You spent 2 decades studying ice in the Arctic and the Antarctic. Wow. Okay. I'm not going to read your whole bio because it's long and I want to talk to you. So,
But it sounds so great.
Yeah.
We could do highlights like ravishingly good looking.
yes, ravishingly good looking, an expert for National Geographic expeditions. You're a TED fellow. We're going to talk about more about that later.
Let's throw in 4 books and I have a PhD.
Okay, I like that.
That's credentials right
Great,
there. Okay.
great. That's a lot of writing.
I spend a long time looking at a glacier in a tent. I think it's really common for young people to be told, get off your phone. My message is get on your phone. I've written almost every one of my books on my phone in my notes app.
That is, okay. We have to have that. We have to get Jonathan Haidt here and tell him the phone's okay if people are writing.
Yeah, I just look like I'm texting and really I've got deep thoughts and I'm writing them down.
Right. I want to hear, I want to start at the very, very, very beginning. What is a glacier?
Okay. What do you think a glacier is?
Okay, a glacier for me, I drove through the Rockies when I was a kid. So I saw in the Canadian Rockies, and I saw just a big, massive sheet of ice, like almost like what you would see at the top of a mountain, but it wasn't at a mountaintop.
Yeah.
And I remember people were trying to walk on it.
100%. So we're there.
That's what I've got for you.
No, I love that. So you saw something big and white.
Yes.
And it could have been ice or it could have been snow, but it was all part of what we call the cryosphere. Think cryo, think ice, cold, freezing,
Right,
all of that. Glaciers are a component of that. So we say glaciers are these moving rivers of land ice that persist year after year, made from snow, and they got to move. They got to flow. Yeah, I love that. Okay, so that's our definition.
Okay.
But in there's all this complexity. Because if you think about it, the majority of our world population, which is a fancy academic way of saying you, me, your mom, the people we talk to all over the world, the majority of our world's population, they live in a landscape that has been impacted, created by glaciers, by ice, by our cryosphere. So think about this. It could be the landscape they live in. So mountainous landscape that is shaped by ice. It could be a place they live in that is fed by ice. Think here are big rivers that are coming down and feeding crops. Or it could be a place that their weather is impacted by the glaciers that might be countries away, kilometers away, miles away. Most of the people on the planet live in a place that is impacted by glaciers. But here's what I want you to think about, okay? Because you asked, what's a glacier? And I gave you the fancy academic definition. But do you really know what a glacier is made of?
I mean, for me, I just assume it's made of ice, but I think that's
But how did we get to the ice? Glaciers are made from snowflakes. And here's what I want you to think about. Snowflakes, you've seen single one snowflake. It's the most fragile, the most vulnerable, the most alone thing on the planet. When it falls through the sky and lands in your hand,
it's gone.
It could be gone. But a glacier is full of one single snowflake that fell to the ground, reached out, and held hands with the next snowflake and the next snowflake and the next snowflake, the millions and billions and trillions of snowflakes that are literally holding branches so tightly, they have become, through this community of snowflakes, the most powerful force on this planet. A community of the most vulnerable, most alone things are standing together, and they are shaping the landscapes and lives and futures of almost every person on this planet.
I want to ask you how you came to that understanding.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about you, because the way you talk about this is very beautiful. And I want to understand, like, how did you come to work on this? And yeah, just tell us a bit more about you.
Okay, so Maryam, I grew up Alaska and in Washington State. I'd never met a scientist, let alone a female scientist, right? I didn't think science was an option for me. And I did a lot of backcountry guiding and search and rescue, and I ended up with all these questions of the ice systems I'm guiding on. Right. It didn't occur to me for a really long time that I could answer those questions.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so right when I started my career, right when I was like very beginning, learning to be a scientist, learning to measure, monitor, predict things, learning the language of science, I write about this a lot in my very first book, The Secret Lives of Glaciers. I write a lot about this in my very first book, While Glaciers Slept. I have 4 books. I'm working on another one. They all get confused sometimes. Right when I was learning to be a scientist, my family died. And what I realized is that the language we use for environmental change, for landscape change, it is the same language we use for family change, for our lives. Okay. And as scientists, I can exclude you immediately by telling you how I measure and monitor all the numbers on bread, milk, yogurt, and vat yogurt, and all these ice systems I work on. I can exclude you by using very specialized language.
Yes.
Or I can invite you in by using the same language that you and I are going to use over a coffee when you tell me this new thing, this new drama in your family or in your life or in work. That language, it tells us the same processes. And I think that as scientists, we need to learn and use the language that everybody accesses and can understand and move with.
I mean, that insight itself, I guess some of it must come from the fact that you didn't feel like this was something you could do.
Yeah.
And that it felt like inaccessible to you, or it was made to feel inaccessible to you, and you don't want to do that in your own work.
I still find it rather shocking that I have a PhD and a postdoc and all these books.
Yeah.
I remember in 2017, I was named an Explorer to the National Geographic Society, and I walked into the National Geographic headquarters on M Street in Washington, D.C., and I walked in and knew instantly I did not belong. I was around some of the world's smartest people. Yeah. But there was another scientist, Paula Kahumbu. She saw me. She walked up to me. She said, "Tell me about your work. I'm so glad you're here." It is other people choosing to invite us in.
Yeah.
And it's our responsibility then to do that to others, whether they're in science. I could talk to other scientists all day long. I mean, we could.
Yeah.
But my job is actually to speak to everybody else who is thinking about science, who is science questioned, science inquisitive.
And I mean, you mentioned earlier about how, all the different ways that glaciers impact people's lives. Can you tell us a bit about your research and your work and what are the things that you have discovered? What should we, if we're new to thinking about this, what are some essential things we need to know?
The most important thing that my work wants us to know about glaciers is that we are experiencing today significant and unnatural mass loss.
Yeah.
We are losing our world's ice. Yeah. And that's going to have impacts on you and me and everyone on the planet.
Yes.
But we also have a single story that we are losing our world's glaciers, full stop.
Okay.
My dream, my metric as a scientist is that when I walk into a room one of these days, someone doesn't tell me the joke, "Oh, you study ice. Pretty soon you're going to be a historian."
Oh,
I hate that joke, right? And I fake laugh at it all the time because I'm like, it's new. People are thoughtful when it comes to meeting lady scientists.
Yeah.
But I want people to realize that we are not in the last chapter of our world's ice. Our glaciers have the ability to grow back. Our glaciers have the ability to have a thriving system that they live within and live in balance with us. But the only way that happens, there are days, I'll tell you what, I wish I had focused on save an animal or save a species of tree. Because
what do we call it? Charismatic megafauna.
Yeah, if I'd gone into save the whales, that would have been amazing because then I can say we have 5 more whales this year. We have 5 more of this. The only way we get ahead of ourselves and start slowing glacier change and then allowing our glaciers to respond over time and grow back is a group effort. It's going to be a community effort.
What is the impact of losing our glaciers?
We have a finite amount of water on our planet, and that water is either going to be in a liquid form. Think about all our rivers, oceans. It's going to be in a solid form. Think about our glaciers. It can be in a gas form. Think about all of the water vapor in our atmosphere. We know that when we have more water held it in the solid form, so think about our last ice age, our planet is drier, right? Less storms, less fuel in the system. But when we have more water in a liquid or gas form, so our planet is warmer right now, our solid ice is melting, it's gas or water, all the weather that we naturally experience gets bigger. We have more fuel for our hurricanes, we have bigger droughts, we have higher sea levels. So we're going to be living in a much more unstable planet with much less easily accessible liquid drinking water.
And so that is why, I mean, that is such a, I mean, I don't think I've heard anyone describe it so simply, but so that is why, when we talk about climate change creating extreme weather events, it's because in a way there's more fuel in the system because we are losing this. Are glaciers the same thing as Arctic sea ice? Because people talk about that. Is it the same system? Is it the same kind of thing, or is it different?
I love that you're thinking about this. So remember I said that we have this cryosphere, this system, right?
Yes.
So sea ice is part of the cryosphere, but sea ice is frozen seawater.
Okay. Yes. Well.
Glaciers are built from snow. Glaciers are our banks, right? They are going to persist year after year, decade after decade, century after century. So if we put all our money, you and I are told the same darn thing. Gosh, I was like 10 years old. My dad was like, save your money.
Yeah.
We are saving our snowflakes. We need more of our water in solid form so you and I can live in better weather.
Okay.
Right now, though, the banks are wide open.
Yeah.
We don't need a robber. We basically just have you and me coming on in, taking all our snowflakes. And that is meaning that everybody on the planet lives in a more erratic system.
And does this also contribute to, like, when people talk about the rise of sea levels, is this also can contribute to that?
100%. So when we have in nerddom, we're going to call this phase change.
Okay.
When we have water go from that solid and then it goes into a liquid or a gas, we're seeing, when it goes as a liquid, it flows from a glacier, it melts into a river system, into some hydro system. It will eventually end up in our ocean.
Yeah.
And our ocean's like, yes, please, I'll get bigger, depending on if it's cold water or warm water. And then our seas rise. But I want you to think about one other thing. Geography matters for sea level rise.
Okay. Yeah.
I want you to imagine for just a second you have a sponge in your hand. You press that.
I do have a sponge.
Oh, yeah. Well, then press that one down. We got a sponge right here. You press it down, right? What happens? It goes down.
Yeah.
This is simple science. What happens when you take your finger away?
It comes back up.
It springs back up. Do you want to know what a million, billion snowflakes weigh? A lot is the technical answer. So it starts to press down our Earth's surface wherever we have ice. Think about places like Greenland, Iceland, the Arctic, the Antarctic. These are land masses. Iceland's the fun one to imagine. We have so much glacier ice, it presses it down. But when that glacier ice starts to melt, oh my God, here comes the finger. It goes away. So the land will rise back up at something called isostatic rebound. Okay. So places that had ice, Iceland, Greenland, our poles, our volcanoes like Mount Rainier, if we're here in the Pacific Northwest, they're going to spring back up. Iceland is rising out of the water quicker than sea level is catching it. Greenland is rising out of our seas quicker than the seas are rising. So sea level rise is part of our cryospheric impacts, but it is not the same everywhere.
Wow.
I'm here for your explanations.
Right. Okay. So here's another question, because you hear all these things, and you mentioned that we can get them back, the glaciers. Yeah. So that's interesting, because I guess I was under the impression that if everything melts.
Yeah.
We can't get it back. Like, it's one of the tipping points. Can you explain, like, is there a tipping point when it comes to glaciers after which we can't recover, or can we always recover, or do we not know? I
guess there's let me answer that in 3 ways. Okay. 3 parts. Here we go. It's going to be great. Okay. Right now, we're living on a farm, and you and I are in the house. Our house, it's fallen down, but the farm itself, our planet, has got a lot of other things happening, right? But can you and I continue to live in the house?
Maybe not.
Maybe not. I think the roof's coming down. We're going to have to do a lot of work to repair. So that's a great way to think about it. When it comes to glaciers, if you decided in your backyard, Maryam, where do you live?
I'm in London.
Okay. You want to have a hanging basket glacier on your front door, right?
Yeah.
Glaciers need 3 things to grow. Any guesses? You already know one of them.
Water. Snowflakes.
Snowflakes. Yes, we're there. They need 2 other things.
Cold temperatures.
Yep, nailed it. So we need snowflakes, we need cold temperatures, and
space. No.
Do we talk about glaciers that's going fast or slow?
Yeah, they need to flow
over long, big time periods. See,
there we go. Okay, we need time.
So glaciers just need 3 things. They need a lot of snow. They need a lot of cold temperatures to make that snow stick around, and then they turn into glaciers over time.
Right.
Okay. That is just what happens.
And that doesn't change. That's what they always do.
Those are the variables, right? What have we done to change that? We've taken those cold temperatures away.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So when I'm looking at a glacier, Everyone talks about the terminus, the edge of a glacier, and how much it's maybe melted away, receded away. That's important. Yes. That is. But I'm also looking up in the refrigerator. I'm looking up in the mountains where all the snow is, which turns into glacier ice, turns into the food every teenager like robs at 2 a.m. in the morning. That snow turns into glacier ice over cold temperatures in time.
Right.
We take the cold temperatures away. All the snowflakes that are going to feed my glacier, they just melt. They don't turn into glacier ice.
Seasonally.
Our glaciers across the planet, they are starving. So what do we need to do? We need to fix our cold temperatures so our glaciers can thrive. That is something, just to be very real with you, I spend a lot of my time advocating and teaching about glacier ice. Even if today we got our CO2 emissions under control and our temperature started to drop, our glaciers are probably going to take a couple decades to respond. I am never going to see the results of the work that I do in my lifetime.
Right.
That doesn't make my work any less critical, though, because I'm in this for the long game. I'm in this for the next generation, the next generation. We can get ahead of our CO2s and our water vapors.
Yes.
We can get our temperatures down. And when we do that, our glaciers begin to grow again. That's possible. So your tipping point question at the very beginning, tipping points are something that people can get their heads around.
Right.
It maybe will get more people to act.
Yeah.
I don't know. Our ice is going to be on this planet for a long time.
I have a meta question for you based on what you've just said. Not specifically about glaciers, but how does it feel to work on something that is bigger than you, where you, like you said, you might not see the impact of the work you're trying to do? I mean, I feel like, how does that feel?
There are days, to be entirely honest with you, I'm not getting out of bed.
Yeah.
That's a lot of weight.
Yeah.
But most days, I am out of bed because I think our planet's worth it. Yeah. And more importantly, I think we're worth it. I can't tell you much about medical science. I can't tell you much about design infrastructure. I have in this brain everything there is to know about ice and then everything I'm about to learn over my lifetime.
Yeah.
And that's how I contribute and can be of service to humanity. That's a very challenging job because I don't know any university, organization, or institute that's going to hire a glacier storyteller, but it is still the work I do because my job is to amplify, to inform, to educate, to build community around ice because we need it in the decades and in the shared futures to come. I think a lot about that. And then I cut my eyes over to my toddler and I think, damn it, my toddler's worth it.
How old?
He's 4. Okay. And he can say the names of a lot of our planet's glaciers.
Oh, that's brilliant.
I don't want to use the word genius, but I already did. But he's worth it.
Yes.
And then the next generations are worth it.
Yeah.
And so that's how I center myself. That's how I think about this. And that's how I make sure I keep working forward.
I appreciate that answer. And I ask it because I think as we've done this podcast over the years, one of the things that's really become more evident to me is how, in order to address something as big as climate change, we need this kind of, they call it cathedral thinking.
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
It's not my term.
There we are.
And yet everything around us is designed to not encourage us to have that kind of thinking. Everything is like this quarter, this year, whether it's like in business or whether it's your grant funding or whatever, no one is encouraging us to do that. And yet time and time again, the people we have on this podcast, they have found their own ways to have that kind of thinking so they can have the impact they need to have.
Maryam, I want everyone who's listening to us talk today to take back the idea of a snowflake. We are all taught that a snowflake is this really fragile, sensitive thing.
Yeah.
It is. It is also the most powerful force on our planet. And if we start thinking collectively in community as a snowflake, I really doubt that a single damn snowflake knows the impact it's having.
Yeah.
But what it is doing is reaching out and holding.
Yeah.
And through that act of humanity, it's changing the very surface of our planet, the very outcome of generation after generation of everything. As a TED fellow here,
Yeah.
I got to bring an ice core, right?
Yes.
From the highest point in Canada, from the Logan Mountain and that whole ice system that is there. We brought this ice core because we want people to understand time. We want people to understand that when we stand together, we have 40 generations of humanity that we can catch in a single glacier. Every breath humanity ever took over the last 40 generations, I can show you that because snowflakes captured that and held that in glacier ice.
That's gorgeous.
How can we not stand in awe of that? That's worth saving, thinking about, preserving, and that's worth inspiring ourselves with.
That's beautiful. Okay, last question. You asked us this when we walked in, so I have to ask it to you.
Yeah.
What's your favorite glacier?
Or how do we know the glaciers aren't listening right now? And then someone's going to throw me into a crevasse. Down south in Antarctica is an island called South Georgia. And there's a glacier called the Haney. But to work on the Haney, you got to walk through 100,000 pairs of breeding king penguins.
Wow.
The smell is unbelievable. The sound is even worse. And it is just this absolute visceral experience. I have worked on so many of our planet's glaciers. Each one of them. You could blindfold me and drop them on them, and I can tell you where I am because each one of them is different. They sound different. They smell different.
Right.
They flow different. Something about that Haney Glacier down there with all those penguins. Ooh, it sits right here in my brain, but I would not dare to use the word favorite.
It's been such a delight to chat with you. Thank you. I hope that this has inspired people to go check out their glaciers.
Or at least reach out to me and I can tell them where they are and how.
Actually, where can people find you in your work?
I'm most active on Instagram. They can definitely find me on Instagram, or they can come to my website, which is drmjackson.com.
And what's your Instagram handle?
It's the letters MLE Jackson. And they are certain to ask me all about glaciers because there is nothing I love more than answering glacier inquisitive questions.
You could be glacier curious.
Ooh, absolutely.
Amazing.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for joining us this week. We really hope you enjoyed this episode.
If you did, please hit the follow button to make sure that you get next week's release. While you're at it, please leave a rating and a review.
Now, let's shout out to our fabulous team behind the pod.
Executive produced by Josie Colter.
Produced by Ben Beheshty.
Music also by Ben Beheshty.
Communications by Tara Cooper and Issey Gladston.
Curation by Deesha Chandra.
Hosted by Ben Hurst.
And Maryam Pasha.
And remember,
stay curious.